Welcome to the Global Barber. I'm Cedric Small. This season, I'm heading down east on a scenic journey through Canada's Atlantic coast. I'll be working in some of the coolest shops as I make my way throughout the Maritime provinces and Newfoundland too. Along the way, I'll be searching for the best seafood, beverages, and local music. Each province is abundant with things to do and majestic scenery everywhere. It's going to be a great trip. Special thanks to all partners and sponsors for this season of the Global Barber. It's September the 28th, 2022. I'm excited to be packing up the truck, hitting the road with the crew on a month-long journey throughout Canada's East Coast. This episode will serve as an overview for the season ahead. Leaving from Ontario, we'll be traveling throughout Quebec along the eastern banks of the St. Lawrence River to New Brunswick's capital city. There, I'll be working and hanging out with Rob Reese, owner of the Royal Barber Shops. You go to the market in Fredericton?
Yeah, on Saturdays sometimes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
We went to the market. Had a donair for breakfast.
Oh, nice.
With 26 craft alcohol producers in the capital region, the city of Fredericton is known as Atlantic Canada's craft brewing capital and features the most tap rooms per capita in Canada. In our downtime, Rob takes us to a few of his favorite stops around town and along the Fredericton Taproom Trail. The trail features 11 participating tap rooms where you can collect stamps for drinking beer. The stamps can then be used to acquire swag. Before leaving Fredericton, I was able to tour a couple of truly unique museums. King's Landing, it's like being transported back in time. A New Brunswick Living History Museum with original buildings from the 1800s and where actors play real historical characters from that place and time.
Most of the characters or the people you see in the houses are representing real people from New Brunswick's past. So like the Pearly House, for example, there really was a lady who named Mrs. Atherton who lived there. Or the Hagerman family, you know, they really lived there. And so like in the 1850s, there's a lot of research by our team done to see who can these people portray.
Good day, sir.
So yeah, there are real people who lived here. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, folks.
How are you
Good
today?
morning. Good morning. Well, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
This is cash only.
Okay.
No more chickens. No more chickens. Well, it's my wife said. She said if I bring any more chickens home, she's going to wring my neck. Does that ring true? I'll tell you. This is made by William Golding from St. John, New Brunswick, but built in Boston. Now this one here, you pedal, and then you put the paper in.
Do you have a local paper?
No, sir.
No.
We have Mrs. Pearly.
She's the local paper.
Have you heard of the Telegraph? We got the Telegraph. Yes. Fine woman now. Fine woman. We're not saying anything against her cooking or her housekeeping.
And we also have a team of musicians who put shows on at the theater. Sometimes they do improv, sometimes they do singing, sometimes a little skit, and a dance.
And clear, our foreman said, turn out
The Stanton Friedman is Out of This World exhibit at the Fredericton Regional Museum is a must-see attraction for anyone interested in aliens and UFOs. Retired Canadian Forces Army Intelligence Officer Hal Scarab is the exhibit's curator, and he was kind enough to offer us a private tour.
So who was Stanton Friedman?
Stanton Friedman was a nuclear physicist who was all about the facts and nothing but the facts. He started off as a debunker of UFOs way back in the day. He was a nuclear physicist working for a whole bunch of companies, McDonnell Douglas and so on. He had heard this story about a crashed craft, dead aliens, that sort of thing. He said, what absolute nonsense. If there was something like that going on, there'd be facts to back it up. The president would have been briefed. And I'm going to prove to you that it didn't happen. And then, because he was diligent, he went to the archives in Washington and he started going through the files, and son of a gun, letter. President Truman is briefed in 1947 on the crash of a strange vehicle. 4 bodies. And he goes, this is impossible. And then he finds another one, and then he finds another one, and then he finds another one, and he said, my God, this is real. So he and a fellow by the name of Don Berliner head off to Arizona, and they start talking to people in the town of Roswell, which is why everybody calls it Roswell. The crash has actually happened about 70K north of the town. And there's an Army Air Force base, Roswell Army Air Force base nearby, where they removed all the material. And he and Don interviewed well over 150 people who saw the wreckage, who saw the crash vehicle, who saw the bodies, initially 3, and then later they found the 4th one. They really don't want to see us blow ourselves off the face of the planet. They'd like to see us survive, but they also do not want how we are and how we operate with powerful nuclear weapons to come their way. And now that we're getting rockets and getting nuclear weapons and going into space, it concerns them. But whenever anybody in the Air Force in particular goes after these UFOs and then they turn on the radar and they reach for the gun switch, the UFO does something to turn off all the electronics and the plane crashes. As in, if you want to be hostile, they certainly have the technology to stop you.
Next in the series, we'll be trekking east to the picturesque province of Nova Scotia. I'll be working in the provincial capital of Halifax for a couple of days at a couple of different shops. First, I'll be working and hanging with Sherry, Carrie, and Steve at MVP Modern Barbers. After work, we've been invited to Durty Nelly's authentic Irish pub to celebrate Alexander Keith's 228th birthday with dinner, drinks, music, and dancing. Aside from Alexander Keith's beer and Canada's East Coast Naval Base, Halifax is probably best known for its fresh seafood, wonderful restaurants, and the Halifax waterfront. A private sightseeing cruise with Harbour City Cruises is a great way to see the waterfront. Before moving on to Peggy's Cove, I spent the day with Joel Martell and his crew of skater barbers at Odd Fellows Barbershop. Nova Scotia is home to more than 160 lighthouses, but the most popular and most photographed in all of Canada has got to be Peggy's Point Lighthouse, which is located in the charming fishing village of Peggy's Cove on the eastern shore of St. Margaret's Bay. Surrounded by giant rocks that have been worn smooth by the sea, Peggy's Point Lighthouse was built in 1915 and has been a beacon for the working lobster boats for more than 100 years. The village of Peggy's Cove welcomes nearly 1 million visitors annually, and this season I'll be sure to visit this magical destination too. As the journey continues, we'll be traveling to the eastern coast of Cape Breton Island to embark on an 8-hour ferry ride to the island of Newfoundland. Canada's easternmost province. As the sun rises, the ferry drops us in Port aux Basques, and our journey continues, heading east for 10 hours, following the Trans-Canada Highway all the way to St. John's, the province's capital city. When we get to St. John's, I'll be working with Linda and her team at Dockside Barbers.
I noticed you like me, you never use no clip seed or use water.
Yeah.
Same thing, I don't know.
Because I keep it at a temperature almost higher, moisture like there's product in it.
Yeah.
So it always
and it
just
stays,
looks like it's style.
That's right. I don't use clips either. I use the water.
And then I'm off to MBP Modern Barbers to work with Christine and her crew.
Razor now, you'll get all those edgings cleaned up, and he's going to feel a little bit fuller there. So it's going to be more of that.
And it colored in all those little hairs like you said.
It did.
That were
When
light.
yes.
Then it's time to get screeched in a ceremony where I become an honorary Newfie at the world-famous Christian's Pub on George Street.
Are there people here that want to become honorary Newfoundlander?
Yes!
Excellent. Give yourselves a hand here. We are going to start right out of the gates with 3 words in Newfoundlandese. Prague, puddock, and glutch. Prague is food for your puddock, which is your stomach, and we are going to glutch your back. That means eat it. If you're vegetarian, don't worry, because there's no real meat in that egg. I am Aunt Luce, and this is my co-host, Little Luce.
Oh, she's cute.
She's a little loose, guys. She's cute. She does a fair bit of kissing.
Oh, you gotta plant it. Give us some tongue.
All right, we are going to do a toast together. All right? Up to the lips, over the gums. Look out, puddock. Here she comes. Glutch her back.
Oh.
That rum's gonna hit you all in about 60 seconds. And then you're gonna get a little flush. Yes, Mitch, you already got one. It's all good. You're gonna find it a little warm. You're gonna take that hat off eventually. You're gonna lose that hat over there. And most importantly, all of your minds are going to open up to the knowledge that I am about to share with you. And if that does not happen, I shall just keep drinking. By all the power vested in me, and somebody actually gave me power, I have no idea why, I declare all of you honorary Newfoundlanders. Now, Kate, my sweetheart.
You can get a great view of the Jelly Bean row houses from the top of Signal Hill, a National Historic Site of Canada, where the first transatlantic wireless transmission was received by Guglielmo Marconi in 1901. The local legend says the colorful houses have a long history of being painted in bright colors to help guide sailors and fishermen to see their way home through foggy weather. After a morning of sightseeing, we get invited to Bannerman Brewing to enjoy some local beer and a spectacular Thai-inspired lunch using local ingredients.
Oh, that's good. How are you, Ian?
So the whole bites to get started. This one here is a fried rice we make with some local mushrooms, and this is kind of a spicy squash from a squash we source from the local farm. Our whole thing is kind of Thai-inspired food.
Traditional Newfoundland food right here. Sure don't want to try a little bite just to say you did. You bet you're missing out.
So much food later at the house.
Oh, it's delicious. The dinner menu at Celtic Hearth offered us an assortment of truly authentic Newfoundland dishes such as moose burgers, mussels, and cod tongue.
The fisherman's platter, you get mussels, scallops, cod, side vegetables, and roasted potatoes or fries.
Another midnight sail brings us back to the mainland. The ferry drops us in Cape Breton, where we set our course for the red sandy beaches of Prince Edward Island. Traveling along the scenic winding roads of the famous Cabbage Trail, we stop for a delectable lunch with an authentic Celtic musical performance at Glen Ora Inn and Distillery. Nestled in the stunning glens of the Mabou Highlands in Glenville, Cape Breton, Glen Ora is recognized as the first single malt whiskey distillery in North America. They also produce the world's first single malt whiskey aged in ice wine barrels. Onward to Prince Edward Island, we make another stop in Moncton, where I'll be working with Jeff at True Standard Barbershop. William of Keep Sharp Solutions will be coming to the shop to sharpen my tools, and then we'll be going out for dinner and drinks at the Pump House Brew Pub and Restaurant.
Every time you'll ever see me cut something other than sanding strip with hair shears, I'm just making sure there's no excess of burr or excess burr left on the shears. Check the tips, make sure the tips are closing all the way. They are. I'll adjust the tension.
Before we leave Moncton, we'll check out Magnetic Hill, where the cars seem to magically roll uphill on their own. Our last stop for the season will find us on Prince Edward Island, which became the birthplace of Confederation for Canada in 1867. Here, we have an exciting few days of sightseeing, entertainment, fabulous craft beer, and the best seafood of the entire trip.
They're meaty, they're salty, they come out of our brackish water here. PEI, I say, has the best oysters in the world.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah, I know other places have oysters, but ours here on PEI are the best oysters in the world.
After checking into our suite at the Holman Grand in Charlottetown, I stopped into Johnny Barber's barbershop for a haircut and a chat.
You guys still do any mackerel fishing off the wharf?
Not as much now. It's now become a little overpopulated at the wharf.
Oh, is it?
And I kind of get out of trout fishing and about to get into the bass fishing here. Bass has become a real huge sport for just pleasure fishing. And
I never knew they even had bass.
No.
I thought they were just those sea perch or something.
Yeah, sea perch, mackerel, and that was about all we ever got. So, but now you go fishing at the beach.
Yeah.
You take your beach chair, you throw your line out, and you wait. But they come right in at the beach. You could be playing at the beach with your kids and see the big bass come swim by your leg.
Must be like a sea bass.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they are. They're
not the small.
No, because we have panfish up there, up in Ontario.
I think this one's going to be called Make It Bleed.
While in Charlottetown, I spend a day working with the crew at Global Barber.
Hey, how are you, man?
Very good.
Local singer-songwriter Liam Corcoran stopped in for a touch-up before his show at the Trailside Music Hall, which is located in the Arts Hotel.
Can't say if I've stayed or gone in the shadows or on the gallows, every blind is drawn.
And you got a new album coming out?
Yeah, we're at the mixing stage of the record now, so getting close to the finish line and hoping that it will be released in spring 23 sometime, if all goes to plan.
Is there a big music scene on Prince Edward Island?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty diverse. I mean, obviously we have a really strong kind of Celtic and Acadian, you know, heritage styles, but also a lot of indie rock, folk, things like that. And we've even, our hip hop scene has been growing here, and it's really cool to see. So a lot of music happening for a relatively small place, that's for sure.
There's like nobody was supposed to go.
If you like art, dining amongst the surreal artworks of Salvador Dali at the Dali Cafe makes for an interesting time. And there's usually great entertainment too. There's no shortage of things to do in Charlottetown. Special thanks to all partners and sponsors for this season of the Global Barber.
But I know I'm being looked after by something that comes from above. It's some bigger plan, and it's not made by man. It's something I choose to call love.